Well, good afternoon, everyone. For those listening, it's another one of our events on Wish I Was Here in our My Life, My Business Club. Now, we have been pursuing this series around just living a life that you can fully enjoy. And we've been going through foundational principles. And today we will actually just broach a topic on principle number 20, which is doing is work, being is effortless. So the quote that goes hand in hand with this principle is by Dan Tothero. Hard work, well, that's all right for people who don't know about anything else. It's a bit tough, isn't it? So most people do what they love. That is in between what they feel they have to do. And if you feel that you are working, then you are doing and not being. Being is effortless. And because our energy is focused and concentrated, greater results occur with much less effort. It is important to remember that as soon as you put on a hat to do a certain role, you've disconnected from being. And what that means many times, whether you wear the hat of a mother, a brother, CEO, director, whatever the job title may be, and you describe yourself in terms of what you do as per the hat you are wearing, according to this principle, you are not being, you are doing. You then describe that I am what I. Now, many times, I mean, I'm interested in all of this because there are times when I just believe, well, actually, who I am is what I do, and the key would be is okay. So, do I just contradict this principle? Well, it is I am being, therefore, the activities are aligned to what I am doing. And by the way, what's the distinction? Doesn't feel like work, you know. Does feel like your job is a hobby and then you never work a day in your life. Then you begin to get some sense of whether or not you are doing and whether or not you are being. Remember, the principle is doing is work, being is effortless. And so many times when we introduce ourselves to people, we normally say, I am so and so, I am Jacques, and I am a whatever hat I'm wearing. All right? And or you find yourself in a new environment and strangers walk up to you and they say, okay, introduce yourself to you. They introduce themselves to you, find out who you are. Invariably the question is, and so what do you do? And sometimes what you do comes with what do you do for a living? And so it's easy to talk about what we do or what we don't do. But let's, for argument's sake, say that question came at you in terms of who are you? Meaning, who are you being? I mean, how easy is it to answer that question in terms of who you are being? And so, a very simple principle today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time giving you an intro. So, it was really meant for discussion purposes. So, Renee, I don't know about you, but do you think this is really true? That doing is work and being is effortless? What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I can't really tell you, to be honest. Doing is actually work, yeah. Doing is actually work. Doing something manually, physically. Uh, Being who you are, I suppose, is effortlessly because that's innate. That's who you are. It's not what you need to do to become, it's just you being you. So I guess being is effortless.
So how? I mean, if I have to ask you now, is that okay, Renee? Who are you? Who are you being? How would you even begin to answer that question?
Wow. Who am I being?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like a trick question for me right now. I believe we can put on many hats. Um, and now I don't know who am I being. I'm just being. Yeah. Now I'm like stumped. Yeah.
Well, I did say it's not that easy. I mean, the key is if I had to say, are you being yourself? Right? It's a yes or no question, right? Are you being yourself?
Well, I believe so. I believe I'm
Yeah.
being myself. I'm not acting any other way that I believe is not me, genuinely me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm being myself.
Right. So then the follow-up question is who is that? How would you describe that part?
Uh, I always say I like just being who I am, and that means I I love my own company. That's being me, right? Or is that just describing who I am?
Well, you're describing the state that you are in, basically, but you're
Okay.
not giving a label to who you are.
Okay, I'm being. Yo, no, that's like a in-depth question that I have to sit and think about.
Welcome, Shanaz. Um, Shanaz, you just coming at the right time. We wanting to ask this question, and we need an answer to it. And I'm going to repeat again. We're discussing this foundational principle number 20 in leading a life of fulfillment and a joyous one. Is doing his work being is effortless. What do you think about that statement? And can you describe who you are being just off the cuff?
Is that for me, or you just asking the question?
No, I've repeated the question, and as you came out, I said, "Well, okay, there we go. There's Shanaz. Shanaz is going to give us something."
Um, for me, it's really about authenticity, and I can really connect to that because I think that it is effortless when when there are moments that I feel that I'm absolutely on point and in my purpose.
Hmm.
And then I absolutely love the work that I do, and I can see exactly then, and I sit back and I'm thinking like, I can't believe I get paid for this. And that to me then, but it's for me, it's a lot about, am I being authentically myself? And I want that to kind of be there always, because as soon as I try to be someone else or something or that I'm not, then I start to struggle, and then it becomes hard work. So I really strive to kind of, but I can agree that when I'm on point and in my purpose, I really feel that the things that I do, it's effortless.
Oh, yes. So that fits with the whole preamble. That's wonderful. It's loving what you do and feeling like you are not really, there's no, and a feeling, and that feeling of effortless accompanying that, and really, enjoying it fully. So if you have to meet somebody for the first time, and I'm still with you, Shanaz, I'm hoping Paul will or is listening, is if you had to meet me for the first time and we chatting, we introduce ourselves to each other, and I ask this question, so Shanaz, tell me, instead of asking you what it is you do, I ask it this way. Okay, so Shanaz, who are you? How would you answer that question?
I would say that I'm listen. Oh, I was gonna say I listen to people's stories. I like to hear people's stories, and I do that via teaching and research.
Mm-hmm. All
Yeah.
right, but so in essence, in the context of what we're talking about, anything that you are describing as in the doing, if you could do it like I am, how would you reframe that in an I am statement?
Okay. Um, I am doing research and teaching um, on people's stories, with people's stories. Mm, I'm trying to think. My
So
brain
if
is
you,
not. I
you
was
know,
gonna say you caught me like on the cuff now, I like just joined, and so now you're throwing these like deeply philosophical questions at me.
well, let me tell you something. I mean, you ever ready, and just giving it a shot. So the thing is, if you can describe it without having to associate it with an activity. So obviously, okay. So let me put myself also on the spot in very much the same way. So what would I be doing if somebody says, "Who am I?" Then I would say, well, I am a pioneer. I am excited to move into areas where I believe I haven't gone into, like to explore new territories, like to um, shift the frontiers of what's possible. I am a leader. Now, is that a hat, or is that what I believe I really am? And and this is where the distinction comes from me. I don't describe myself as a leader because I hold a position in management. I describe myself as a leader because I think, this is a gifting that I had, even though when I was growing up as a child, I was a total introvert. Didn't know how to speak to people comfortably. If asked a question, of course I could respond. And in particular, I was very, very shy of girls at school. So, didn't know, and it's like become extremely tongue tied and all of that. So in essence, what I'm saying is, didn't know how to, really converse with people. My interpersonal skills were very dormant. However, for some strange reason, um, throughout my school career, both in primary school and in high school, I ended up in leadership positions. Ended up being a head boy in both of these instances, and even though in primary school didn't know how to string a sentence together, ended up in that place. And it's strange, as soon as I was given that responsibility without uh, training, found myself in that space. And I think you used the word, Shanaz, when suddenly it was so purpose driven. There was a reason for my existence. I just stepped into that role, and it was like, where do all these things suddenly come from? You know, and it was not much different when I was in high school. Obviously, much older now, more experienced in different things, more exposed in different things, socially a little bit more active, and so forth. But really, the same thing. So rather, finding that there was no real training, education. I'm not saying um, this is a distinction of any sort. I'm just thinking about myself. So I would say, if for me to make the difference, I play many roles, right? Whether they are in management roles, etc. So leading to me is, everybody is a leader of some sort, either by choice or by default. But I found that just um, I ended up intuitively leading, finding myself doing things, finding myself being inspired by myself first and foremost, and then leading others also into that space where they feel excited to do what they need to do. And so, by a natural progression of doing this from when I was 12 years old to my current age, um, very natural, very spontaneous, and that's why I mentor and I coach pretty much. And you know, I feel that I've retired 17 and a half years ago. because many people work hard, extremely hard, in order to have enough financial security, in order to then retire. And for what reason? In order to do what they love. And for me, it was quite simply 18 years ago when I made this decision. Well, I'm going to step into the place um, and do what I love full time, whether or not I have the means for it, whether or not I have worked hard enough to save enough so that it releases me to do, because the conviction was pretty much a case of, well, I'm ready to do this now. Every single day I live, I want to make an impact. And so rather than wait and delay and wait for when the time is right, feeling that, on the other hand, I don't have the guarantee of tomorrow. All I have is the present. And if I impact people in my gifting, in what I was called to do, and that's perhaps another way I look at it, is that it's a calling. Um, and then again, I talk about, I use the word to do, and I gotta be very careful to just filter through the being part. It is because it is rather effortless. If that's the primary distinction, this is rather effortless. Then the joy of the journey of doing life is ever present because it feels effortless, and the excitement in which, Shanaz, you even been talking about, is absolutely loving what you do. All right, because you are being, and I want to sew it up with the words you used. You are being authentically you. And before you joined, I was just asking Renee to describe who she was, and she was stumped for a while there. So Renee, do you want to give it a shot?
Okay, yeah. So while listening to you, I realized you said being. So actually, I'm a dreamer then, an encourager or a conversationalist. Only, like I said, I'm half and half, an
Uh huh.
ambivert, like an
Uh
extrovert
huh.
and an introvert.
Uh
So while
huh.
I'm being an introvert, I dream. When I'm being
Uh
an
huh.
extrovert, I encourage people. I love conversation. I love meeting people. So that's being me. It's effortless. It seems effortless to other people. And what I've been in my profession in the last 30 years, I mean, being with people became effortless because it was something that I enjoyed, something that wasn't difficult. It was easy. So I guess that besides it being my profession, it was also who I was,
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, well, it's amazing how that sounded. I mean, that sounded effortless in the way you delivered it. How does that sound in
Yes,
your own
because
ears?
no, that's how it was easy because that's actually who I am, I think, right? That's who I am, the way I describe
Hmm.
myself. That's being me.
Hmm.
It's easy. It's not difficult. I step into each character easily, whether dreaming or being with people and having good
Hmm.
conversation. Okay,
Hmm.
but I think I've got it now. Thank you.
But and as long as Shanaz was saying, you are being authentic, and I guess that to me is the primary filter. Am I being authentic? You know,
Yes.
is this me, or am I trying to slip into a role because others are expecting me to be that person, so I will be that person for them? And Shanaz beautifully put it together that if you then do, then it is work, because you work at it. You gotta concentrate to consciously be something else, and it's just absolutely draining. So if you want to drain your energy, be inauthentic. Mm.
Oh, that's definitely the truth.
Yeah.
If you have to act on who you're not, it's really, really draining. And I've experienced it so many times. So what you're saying is true. If I'm not comfortable, then I'm not being me.
Yep. Yes. And it does leave room for stretching. It does, even so, being authentically you and still exposing yourself to different challenges and stepping into the unknown and feeling a little uncertain. But when you stay authentically you in that on an experience curve or on a learning curve, um, being you is something that does not require a script and a manual, basically, you know. Um, and I mean, I'm just, as we're talking now, it's also I'm feeling that energy of this topic. Just kind of, it's a bit weird, but I'm feeling that energy. And so, you know, um, coming back to the series that we're talking about and living an engaged life, the the key would be is engage with yourself if you're not, or stay engaged with yourself, and so that you can be that authentic you, so that what you are doing in terms of whether it's in different ways that we describing it impact people in different. And I mean, there's, I tell you what, uh, being you, I think the greatest measure of being you is that lasting impact you leave on the world. And when you experience and or when you witness that impact, the that sense of fulfillment that you feel, that joy that you have because your life has meaning, your life makes a difference, just permeates it. So every single day is one where you look forward to interacting with people. I mean, I don't know why we tend to it's like when we have a tough day, what we tend to do, we withdraw, all right? And we go into that space. In my case, I say, okay, I'm going into the cave. But what I'm doing is I'm depriving myself of experiencing that joy, that through who I am and leaving an impact on the people that I'm interacting with in so many different ways. Um, Immediately is the fuel to continue the journey and loving it while doing it. So I guess um, the point for me, I think the penny drops is that being authentically you is great, but the joy of being authentically you involves others. There is fellow pilgrims on the journey that we are traveling. All right. So tell me what you think about that.
Hi, Jacques. I agree with you. I remember that, like when I would do therapeutic sessions, or even at any time, and I've had a tough week, and sometimes I'm at my sister's practice doing the counseling, like on a Saturday morning, and that week I've had a tough week. But when I am busy with a client, or a patient or a child, then it's like I'm energized after that conversation, or what transpired in the session. And then and it's literally about that engagement with the other person. And that really, again, made me realize, exactly what you said. It's amazing how we retire or withdraw, from others when we are going through a tough time, yet it is are those moments that can energize us and just remind us again, um, you know, bring us in contact with that joy, or with life again. And just amazing how human beings can be. I feel the world. I sometimes learn, that the world can be a kind place.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I actually I don't even want to um, pass any further comment on it. That's such a fitting moment, and that is the last principle we were talking about: faith, not walking by sight. Which is the interesting thing is that Shana says the world is a kind place, and isn't it amazing that when you are being your effortless, authentic self in amongst others, impacting their world, changing them forever, leaving an indelible imprint on their lives, the world can be a kind place. In fact, the world is a kind place, because as you sow in, out of that overflow, the harvest is plentiful. So thank you everyone for joining today and just making this conversation so interesting and so engaging. And thank you for being authentically yourselves. And I can go to bed tonight with a smile on my face because guess what? Strong reminder to be authentically me as you are authentically you. So, good night, everybody. Until we speak again next week. Take care.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everyone. Nice chatting. Bye.
Bye.